Hello, legacy parents. How are you this Wednesday? If you are able to be here and join me, I hope that this live broadcast finds you having a fantastic day. I'm so excited to join and reconnect. And I wanted to speak today about suffering in silence. This idea of having issues and not reaching out for help is something that has been brought more to the forefront in the wake of news that Anthony Bourdain and Kate Spade, these are renowned, quote unquote, successful people who have recently decided to make the choice to take their own life. Now, today I want to speak about what allows things to go that far and how does it get there. So thank you so much for joining me this Wednesday, and let's dive right in. So what causes people to suffer in silence? Well, let's start. What is suffer in silence? What does that mean exactly? So my idea of suffering in silence surrounds us as individuals making the decision that something in life is just overwhelming. Some issue we're dealing with and facing has just gotten to the point where we feel we don't have a way to go. We feel stuck. We feel we may have tried solutions, but don't feel like we're gaining ground. So what do we do sometimes? Exploring options to get out of the drama, out of the mess is one course. But what I find is, in working with parents in particular, a lot of the times we have so much going on that we don't know where to begin. And today, I just want to be able to discuss this topic and get to the root of how, even if something just seems insurmountable, that we are able to tap into our resources and pull our way out of things. Because I believe personally that we are built with bigger destinies than to sit and suffer for prolonged periods of time in our lives. We have this wonderful breath, and just to be grateful and be able to live is such a privilege. It's a privilege to be able to have been woken up this morning. And I know that even in my personal life, it does get overwhelming when, let's say, you hop out of bed and you think of your list of things you have to do that day. And you wonder, where do you start? Where do you begin? And that oftentimes leads people to just feel, not all the time, but a lot of the times that it's a give up feeling where you just feel like you've tried it or you haven't tried it, but you don't know where to begin. So first, I want to speak about an experience that I had with my children. I have an 8-year-old daughter and a 4-year-old son. So around last November, I had been on myself a lot about interacting with my children, and I live a pretty busy life as an entrepreneur. And then when I come home, a lot of the times I'll feel irritation, or I let things get under my skin when I'm interacting with them. Sometimes even their playtime can just be unnerving because they have unlimited energy. And a lot of the times at the end of the day, I am spent. And after experiencing this for, an undetermined amount of time. I mean, just the routine of coming home, having to cook, clean, and then, have energy to be present with them has been something that I struggled with for a long time. As I go back to around last November, I had been telling myself, you know what, I need to just find a therapist. I need to reach out for help. There has to be some parenting resources around how to just engage better with children. And I started my search. I started to look for local therapists in my area, and I got discouraged because sometimes I would reach out and I wouldn't get a response back. Or I would reach out and let's say this provider wasn't covered. So I'd have to go through lists and lists of people and try to connect. So things died down some, and I kind of, gave up for a while. And I just said, you know what, I'm just going to try on my own to do this. And so lo and behold, November passes, January passes, coming to the new year. And this is still something in the back of my mind where I just know that I'm not at my best when I'm with my children at times. And it's always after work. It's always at the end of the day. And I just ended up dealing with it for the most part. And then around February of this year, I was just really taken aback at one time, just really, getting really upset with my son. And I had to, step back. And I feel like after something happens where I do, let's say, lash out, I do the apologies, we do the apologies, and we kind of, get back together and move on. However, working with parents, I know the impact that being a parent makes on that child when they grow up. So I know better in terms of any experiences that children have are going to play out in their development, and especially in terms of contention if they're experiencing that from their primary caregivers. So I was, motivated again to pick back up that search for a therapist. And lo and behold, I was able to find this awesome therapist. And over the last 4 or 5 months or so, we've been working together. And what a surprise. I have made massive improvements in that area. I've been able to employ techniques that I didn't even know existed in terms of relating, and the secrets to pretty much transitioning before my children come home to allow me to kind of reset to be able to be present with them and know that that time with them should be all about them. I shouldn't be in my mind thinking about, oh, I have to do this with work. I have to do that with work. And all of that outcome was achieved by just raising my hand and saying, okay, I need help. This is not working. What I've been doing has not been working. Let me find a professional and get some real guidance. And the results have been just phenomenal. In terms of my interactions with my children, they're able to experience more of the love that I truly have for them. And it's been life-changing for me. And this idea of suffering in silence really connects with my experience in that before meeting with my therapist and kind of going through the process of identifying that first I wanted help, and second of all, that what I did wasn't working, really paid off for our family. And that is the ripple effect of asking for help, is that you not only improve what you're working on personally, but you're able to impact your children. And after you're impacting your children, it's limitless what you can affect. And so that is something that I wanted to share just to show an example of having a struggle, but reaching out and knowing that I'm not alone and there are resources out there. So what does cause people, though? I want to get back to that in terms of what actually causes people to not reach out for help. One thing I find in working with families is a new normal emerges when you're dealing with an issue that has been persistent over time. There becomes a point when it's no longer out of the ordinary. And that becomes when things get dangerous because you're not even prompted anymore to feel like this is a huge issue, because it becomes what the new reality ends up being. And so digging really deep and just being reconnected with what you know in your heart is a better place is what can keep you out of that comfort zone in terms of just giving up hope with a problem. So when we're able to reconnect, let's say, with the bigger picture of what we desire, then we can draw in and say, you know, what I'm looking at right now is not reflecting where I need to be. And having that awareness is generally the first step. And the second thing I find in terms of the first being comfort zone or new normal is that isolation, when dealing with a struggle, really ramps up the chance that you may ignore it. And what happens is you build a bridge, or you build, not a bridge, you build a fence around you that doesn't allow you to have a bridge and connect with anyone. And what that really does is just maximize and make the issue look even bigger. And isolation is something that starts slowly. It may start with you just not returning calls, or looking at your phone when it rings and maybe just deciding, you know what, I'll get back to them. And slowly you start to not reach out, and you can become isolated. And if you're dealing with an issue, let's say if it's weight loss, let's say it's financial trouble, let's say if it's relationship trouble, marriage issues, these things become exacerbated when you don't reach out. And not only don't you reach out, you deny opportunities to connect with people who are reaching out to you. And fortunately, this day and age, we have Facebook. So you're able to connect like we do here at Legacy Parenting All-Stars. We're able to connect on a specific subject. And fortunately, that is what I would consider a saving grace in this day and age, where people are able to connect on similar issues or similar desires to at least not become isolated. So I welcome everyone here in terms of joining Legacy Parenting All-Stars to surround ourselves with a support system around how to relate to, let's say, dependent adult children. And that at least keeps you connected, where you're not going to drift too far from contact. And that isolation and new normal are really the crux of where I see a lot in terms of people suffering in silence and having to overcome that barrier of reaching out. And so how do we begin to break free when we have a real challenge and we have the intention to do better, but we just don't know where to start? The first out of 3 suggestions that I'll offer is this: make a decision. A decision is the birth of action for getting out and turning things around, because everything that becomes present before a decision is void, is not, because it's inaction, it's deliberation, it's contemplation, it's beating yourself up, it's everything but coming to the agreement that you want to do something about the issue. So what I would offer is this: if you're struggling in a certain area in your life, bring yourself to make a decision that no more will I put up with this. In the face of not even knowing how you're going to change things, declare, this is enough, I've had enough, I'm ready for a change. That in itself is going to spark a few things to happen. What you'll find is you'll start be put in positions where you may connect with the people that are perfectly suited for you to solve this issue. Or even if it's not an immediate solution, they may add a new ingredient in terms of a direction to go to progress with dealing with the solution. For instance, making a decision, let's say if you have a weight loss goal to lose 10 pounds, that's a pretty normal or standard that a lot of people have a desire to do. So out of, let's say, 100 people who desire to lose 10 pounds, probably 10%, 10 people out of that bunch will actually make a decision to do it and automatically put themselves in a better position to actually losing that 10 pounds. So when we're dealing with a challenge, we want to be in that 10% of people, of people who decide and actually intend to turn things around. And as I said, that interest that you have or that contemplation really becomes a must. It becomes, no, I no longer want to live like this. And unfortunately, a lot of us have to reach rock bottom where that becomes the moment that we decide to do something. So we have the choice. We can wait until we hit rock bottom, or of course we can take action sooner than later. So as I recall and just go over the weight loss example, we want to be in that 10% of people who are not going to suffer in silence and wait and contemplate. Taking the action is the only chance in terms of making a decision that will put you in a positive direction. And with that, I see someone wants to join. Okay. The next item, after you make your decision, you're ready. You're ready to go. You may not know what direction to turn to, but you've already done about 50% of what's going to bring you to an outcome in your favor. The next crucial piece is priority. You must, after that moment of making a decision, get in the energy of moving things off your plate, saying no to invitations. You have to clear and make room for this new pursuit that you're going to try to attain, this new challenge that you're going to take over. So that's going to mean some things have to step aside. You're going to have to make room for it so that you can dedicate your time, your attention, your energy towards it to give yourself the best shot in turning it around. What discourages a lot of people after they make a decision is they think that alone is going to bring them to being able to solve the issue, and everything is going to be able to stay the same in their lives, and they're just going to add this new goal. It doesn't work like that. Unfortunately, adding on only makes you feel more overwhelmed, only sets you up for more discouragement, more disappointment. And then guess what? You're back to square one. You start to doubt yourself. You start to beat yourself up. You start to question yourself and say, what was I thinking? You know what? I'm just going to table this. That's one of the things that I noticed with myself back in November, a few months before I decided to get a therapist to work with in terms of relating better with my children. During the end of the year is holiday time. And I remember, along with my search for looking for a therapist, was all of the activity and engagement around the holidays. And after the new year, things did quiet down. Things did get to a point where I decided to treat this as a priority. I intentionally decided to stop doing certain things in terms of activities to make a place, make a nice entry point for me to start this new journey in terms of working with a therapist, because that would take scheduling on my calendar. I'd have to make room on my calendar. that wasn't there before. So that means some things had to get bumped. And what keeps you focused is that you're looking at that outcome and you're saying to yourself, you know what? I'm doing all of this to be in a better place and it's worth it. I'm willing, I'm ready. And now all I'm looking for is to link up so that I know I have guidance to go through this. So after you make your decision, after you're able to make it a priority and clear other obligations for however long it takes, the last and final suggestion is to get professional guidance. Suffering in silence a lot of the times deals with you looking at yourself like you're the one who has to provide the solution. And where we end up beating ourselves up is if we're unsuccessful. And this day and age, what I know for sure is that there is a person out there who is the solution to whatever challenge you face. And the special thing about this person is that they likely have spent thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars, even getting a degree in the one area you struggle with. They're probably in massive debt today just to learn enough about how to solve the problem you're challenged with. They have done years of research. They probably have degrees, certifications, extensive background in working with your specific problem. And what we do is we shortchange ourselves from the gift of the person who's already dedicated their life. It's their life purpose to solve the problem that you're struggling with or having a challenge with. And why would we not reach out to connect with that person? And as I started to say before, once we're able to get over the comfort zone and get over the new normal and just be defiantly done with what the situation is doing to our lives at that time, only then are we open to reach out for help. And when we make those attempts, we have to be patient. A lot of the times, it's not going to be the first person you reach out to that's the answer. It may be the second, the third. But what we must stay committed to is knowing there is that person, there is that resource available, and it's just a matter of time. You're already in the right space mentally and emotionally where you've already decided to get help. You've already cleared your schedule and treated this as a priority at this particular time in your life. And now it's just a matter of connection. And as I said, we're all one person away from solving our greatest challenge. And if we will be diligent, we won't have to suffer in silence. Be diligent about reaching out. Be diligent about raising that hand and saying, I don't want to do this on my own. And I don't have to do this on my own. I think of the story of the renowned handbag designer Kate Spade and all of the accoutrements, all of the outside looking in appearance that there's success, there's family, there's happiness, there's wealth. But at the end of the day, a choice not to go on any longer. So how does it get to that point? And yes, the topic of mental health often comes up. And a lot of stories and news reports are speaking more and more about this topic of mental health and mental wellness and mental illness, because situations like suicide or depression are something that is challenging a lot of people. And solutions to the issues are something that a lot of people aren't ready to reach out for in terms of receiving assistance. So with reaching out, that also goes to yourself And if you have friends or family that you may not have spoken to, reaching out and seeing how they're doing as well. So it ends up being a connection both ways, where we seek help to care for ourselves, because that is our number one priority. Our number one priority. If we're not well, we're not able to extend ourselves out a lot of the times. And the sooner we're able to get well, we're able to be more of service, more of help to others that may be needing our support at a special time in their life. And knowing that, again, the ultimate goal is to not be alone, not to deal prolonged periods of time where we have a short time on this earth. Why we don't want to set ourselves up for spending years dealing with a challenge, when all it may take is reaching out and finding that one person to help guide us through and solve this challenge, so that we can move on. We can move on and be of service. We can do what we're called to do in our lives when we're able to go and level up and face new challenges. And that's the thing. Challenges are here to stay. Challenges are here to stay. And I know everyone here in this group is pretty clear on that as well, where it's not a surprise. You don't get rid of a problem and you're problem free after that. But what we can do is take the seeds of lessons learned in each challenge, and then when we face the next challenge, we're better. We're instantly better, because we've already demonstrated that capability to overcome a challenge. So what we do is roll it over to the next one and deal with the next challenge, and know that our competency in terms of being better and better with dealing with challenges is really the benefit for us. And so I want to end off today to again extend myself for support. If you currently have an adult child and you are done, you have reached the point where you are ready to release them financially, reach out. I would love to hop on a call and chat about your unique situation and speak about what's working, what's not working, and help you to not suffer in silence if it's a challenge that you feel like has gotten out of control, or maybe you feel overwhelmed to where you don't see a solution, or you feel discouraged about seeing a solution. I work with parents who are facing this issue, and we're able to get two solutions to overcome this challenge that before they saw as insurmountable, but after working together, we're able to overcome it and really improve the family bond to a level that legacy is established, and you as a parent feel in a much better place about what's going on with your family. So again, I will leave a link at the bottom of this video so that you can reach out, and I look forward to more engagement in our group. And also, if you have any other questions, feel free to always pop them in the group chat. We can always speak on situations you're dealing with, interesting stories you may come across, and support each other, because ultimately legacy is important to each of us. We want to know that where we leave our mark is the best in terms of where we can make it. And we have a support system here that I really would like all of us to take advantage of. So again, leave your comments on this video, post your questions, anything that you're working on or dealing with in relating to, a dependent adult child. And I thank you so much for joining me. Take care, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.